Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 p.m. and the July 5th regular council meeting will now come to order. Please rise and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Gentry, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Frank Bankers.
Present.
Councilmember Leslie Notero. Here. Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley. Here. Councilmember Mike Zabel.
Here.
Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn.
Here.
Mayor David Gaddis.
Here.
Interim City Manager Kyle Riefler.
Here.
Attorney Thomas Trask.
Here. Thank you, Patty. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Motion made by Leslie Natari. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Zabel. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Now we move to citizens' comments. If any citizens would like to address the council about a topic that's not already on the agenda, please raise your hand and wait to be called on. We ask that you limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Yes, sir. Please come up to the podium. Give us your name and address. And
Sure. My name is Patrick Drummond. I'm the son of Rezone Drummond, who's the property owner on 114 16th Street, Bel Air Beach, for the last 19 years. I'm here on behalf of my mother to address a $29,124.97 fee/lien that's been levied against my mother's property for a 2021 $100 landlord registration fee. The landlord registration fee was paid on February 26, 2021 via bank-issued check, and proof of payment was provided by Fifth Bank, and the document was given to the city manager. And it appears as though the city did not process the payment that was made. Once I was made aware of this, I made the payment in person to the city manager along with penalties that were assessed. The city continues to invoice my mother for this fee with a 7% increase till this day. The city changed its landlord registration contact address of mine without notifying either me or my mother. Had my mother and I been given a chance to resolve this issue before it reached this level, we would have. Today, I'm simply humbly asking for amicable and fair resolution to this matter.
thank you very much, Mr. Drummond. We're aware of the situation, and I can assure you we will look at it.
Is it okay if I pass out a copy of the payment needed, or?
I tell you what, if you'll give a copy to the city manager, and he'll make sure that we all get a copy.
We'll give a copy to the city manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other citizens who'd like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Alan Mintz. I live at 125 8th Street. And my family and I have owned this house since the 1970s. I'm here today because we have a problem with a plant called a Norfolk Island pine, which is actually an exotic plant, not indigenous to Florida. On the adjacent property to ours, there are 2 of these trees that are just growing out of sight. And one, the largest one, has got a big incision down its middle. And it, at this point, has to be regarded as a potential catastrophe, since there are several houses that border up on where these trees are. Actually, they're not trees, they're conifers. And they go back to the beginning of time. And I'm going to circulate pictures of the damage caused by the wind shear of 2020, when we had like a mini tornado here. and it damaged the screens around my pool and forced me to be in the pool quite a bit to get the remains of that tree out of there. Since 2003, the adjacent property has been abandoned. The home on the property has been torn down, but the two Norfolk Island pines on the property remain and continue to grow, and grow significantly. I'm going to add at this point that there are 22 of these Norfolk Island pines that I've counted in this area. You can go out the front door, turn left, and you'll see 5 or 6 of them. They are huge, and they're growing and growing. And they're growing in years where we haven't had hurricane issues and climate issues. The climates here seem to indicate that may change. According to the research done by the University of Florida, Norfolk Island pines thrive in humidity, bright light, and have a high salt tolerance. The research also says this naturally coastal tree does not hold up well during hurricanes. The tree can lose all its branches in the wind. I have spoken to the owners of the property twice. They have never resided in the property and live out of state. Mrs. Perez, who some of you might know, is one of the owners. She was in Bel Air Beach several years ago. I also spoke to her son Malcolm on several occasions regarding my concern and telling him of the damage. Both owners did not respond to my concerns. Today, I am here to share my apprehension about further damage or destruction to my property. In addition to the huge size of the largest...
Mr. Minnis, you're going to have to close those thoughts, okay? We've gone past the 3 minutes, and we'll be glad to speak with you going forward after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Any other citizen comments? All right, we'll move on to item number 3. This is a presentation from Fire Chief Jeffrey Davidson of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. And this is concerning the future of that district.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, and our community. Thank you for allowing me some of your time tonight to talk about the future of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District. My name is Jeffrey Davidson. I'm the Fire Chief. Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue District, proudly serving the city of Bel Air Beach. I was blessed to come here to Pinellas Suncoast in November of 2021. I've been serving in the fire service for 34 years now. I have a master's degree in public administration, a master's degree in emergency and disaster management, and I'm very proud to say that I'm a United States Army Reserve veteran. So thank you again for having me here. At the time that I was hired here in November 2021, our new finance director, Aaron Brooks, also came on board. And since we've been here, we've taken a deep dive into the financial situation of the district. We presented to our Board of Commissioners at our May meeting, showing that we have a serious financial problem and that we would look into all areas, which included some scenarios to help fix this situation. However, none of the scenarios that we studied were able to provide a permanent solution. I said to my commission at our meeting in May that I would come back in June with a recommendation for a permanent solution. And I wanted to be able to share with our residents that problem and recommended solution. Well, I understand I have a few minutes, and thank you very much for your time. All right. Pinellas Suncoast Fire Rescue District, for those of you who are not aware, we started in 1953, and now we are known as Pinellas Suncoast Fire Rescue District since the year of 2000. We currently have 3 fire stations throughout the cities that we serve, which include Indian Shores and Indian Rocks Beach, Bel Air Shores and Bel Air Beach, and an unincorporated area of Oakhurst in the county, right? So when Aaron did our deep dive into the finances, we put together a small graph. It's kind of hard to see in such a short period of time, but I'm more than happy to meet with anyone and everyone to explain exactly what I'm going over. But if you see there in the green slides, that shows our revenues, that's our income. The red is our expenses, and the blue bar is our reserve fund balance. And we have a very unique situation in that we have a fixed income. There are 18 fire departments in the county, and we are the only ones that have a fixed income, and that is just the way that our charter was written, that it would have to go to the voters to change that. So you can see over time, the green, there's some changes in the middle here, where we had an increase, and we were able to get a refund for some CARES money, but the green on the right side just stays flat. And the red, you see our expenses keep going up. We need to replace fire trucks and equipment, training, and to balance those, we've having to use our fund balance, which you can see in the blue, continues to go down, which means by fiscal year 2025, we will be out of money. So we did a 5-year projection, and we looked at a few scenarios. So here's the 5-year projection. I understand it's kind of hard to see, but again, I'm more than happy to meet with anybody. This is also on our website, psfrd.org, right? But we need a permanent solution. So in our 5-year projection, you can see here that fiscal year 2025, we go negative. And we put a couple of scenarios together. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. From here, it sounds like I'm a little muffled, I think. We put a few scenarios together we looked at. We've been working extremely hard with the county on some things, such as our EMS funding, which has been underfunded for many, many years, back to 2010. And we're looking at if we were to get our funding back to the minimum levels, and if we were to get a reimbursement on the vehicle that we paid for, what would that do? And that does not solve our problem. It buys us some time, it buys us 2 more years. And we feel pretty good that we're working positively towards that, but it's not a permanent solution. Next, we looked at what if we cut our services, which we never want to do? What if we cut personnel and compensation by 25%? And you absolutely cannot do that. Even if it were possible, it only provides a couple of years, and we're still in the financial situation that we're in. Right? So we analyzed all these things and come to present that we need a permanent solution. A solution that includes the replacement and strategic location of our fire stations. We have 3 fire stations. One, which is not a permanent fire station, it's actually rented space. Another one, the other 2 actually are over 50 years old and in dire need of replacement, and we do not have the money to replace them. We also need to build an emergency operations center, which is where we would run and help run Bel Air Beach and the other communities during times of extreme incidents, whether planned or unplanned, things such as hurricanes. So our stations, during a hurricane, when the storm is actually over us, there comes a point where we have to cease operations, keep them putting people in the streets until that storm passes. And with the beaches, our stations have to evacuate to an emergency operations center where we can continue to plan and work together with the agencies for the next week and what's going to happen as soon as the storm passes and for the next week. And we do not have that facility. I'm going to show you real quick some of our fire stations. We've had lots of visitors here lately to come visit them, but this is our station that's in Indian Shores, and you can see it's not an actual fire station. There's been a dire need for one for many years, and land is very hard to come by, but we needed to provide that service. This is actually a rented space in an office building, and the truck, the brand new truck, is sitting outside. And that's a bank building with lots of traffic. This is our station in downtown Indian Rocks Beach in the business district. And this station is built in 1965. And if you can see on the very left side of the slide, that little portion right there, that was the original fire station from 1965. And it was built on and added to over time. On the right side, you see a picture of we had to evacuate for a few days to be tented for termites. But one of the things that we want to do with this permanent solution is relocate that station further north and to be able to serve the city of Bel Air Beach with better response times. We've identified some properties on the northern end of Indian Rocks Beach, and we're going to continue to be able to build a fire station there and serve Bel Air Beach. And then this is our station on the mainland, which is from 1971. It's over 50 years old, but you can see that that's not a hurricane-proof building. It's not even a hard rain-proof building. It's kind of sad. But our firefighters live there to serve and protect 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. This is the location that we own this property, and this is where we'd like to build an emergency operations center as well. So real quick, this picture on the left is our fire station, 28, and on the right is a modern fire station. The difference in not just the aesthetics, but everything that goes into the planning for the health of the firefighters and for response times and cleaning of equipment. You know, one of the things that's so bad with all of our fire stations, and going back to this station here, we don't have any public meeting space. This building's not ADA compliant. None of our buildings technically are, so we can't hold our meetings there. So we rotate between this facility and Indian Shores, and we want to have a place that we can hold our public meetings, but also not be a liability. And to add to that, with all the things that have gone on with COVID, firefighters and paramedics go through an extreme decontamination process through every patient contact that they have. And they need to have a place where they can shower and change their clothes and do everything that they do before coming into their living quarters, and then eventually bringing that home to their families. That's a top priority for us as well. We got hit pretty hard with COVID last year. I'm gonna try to speed up. These are just a couple more pictures of some modern fire stations. That's a Clearwater station on the beach that's under construction. St. Petersburg Station 7, which is their model for other fire stations, and Dunedin Station 61. Well, those are just some pictures of what modern fire stations look like. Right? So again, Aaron and I did a 20-year projection, and in that we included everything that we need, not the things that we want or the things that we like to have, but everything that we need to survive. Right? We need highly trained personnel, we need fire stations, we need firefighters, we need paramedics, we need equipment, we need training, and all these things to survive and provide the best service to our community. We came up with a 20-year projection on how we could accomplish those things, which includes the rebuilding and relocation of all 3 fire stations to better serve our district. And we came up with the lowest number possible to accomplish those things. At our meeting in June, our fire commission board meeting in June, I presented a permanent solution recommendation to my board. I just make recommendations to my board. And that was the addition of an ad valorem tax to our existing funding formula at a 0.67 millage rate. And that number was the lowest number that we could come up with that accomplishes all these things. And that's where the 20-year projection is very hard to see on here. But through that, we build and pay off all 3 fire stations. We get our reserves to where they need to be. Right now, we're at the bare minimum of reserves. So once we go any lower, then the state has to step in, and that's going to be an issue. So we need to get ahead of these things, and there's no timeline today. Right? My board, I had asked them to direct me to go seek the ballot language to be put in front of the voters in November. I'll bring that back in July. And again, I'm speaking of it, but it has not been approved by my board yet. But the way we are going to have it written is that it would be a fixed rate of a 0.67 millage rate that can never go higher unless it's a were to go back to the voters. But we did a 20-year projection, and it should not be to go any higher unless, say, 10 years from now, we have such an influx of population and realize, hey, we need to add a 4th fire station or more personnel or whatever for our fire department ratings and to better serve, it would have to go back to the voters. So in our July meeting, I'm going to present the ballot language to my board, and they will vote to move forward on that or not. And between July and November, once, let's say it is approved by the board in July, between July and November, I would like to meet with as many residents as possible to show them what exactly this is for, where the money would be going, and what, never to tell anybody how to vote, but here's what will happen if this passes, and if it doesn't pass, we will cease to exist. That's just the painful truth of it all. But being able to get this passed by the voters, it's a solution that builds healthy fire stations in the best locations. It allows us to be fiscally responsible and cost efficient. It gives us the best response times with how the stations are built for flow. And it sustains us as a district, serving this community, I want to say forever. But without that, we're not going to exist. I left business cards in the back. My information is up there. Jeffrey Davidson. Aaron Brooks is our finance director. Again, you can see any of this information on our website, psfrd.org. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions with anybody at any time. Just give me a call. My cell phone number is on my card. More than happy to meet with anyone and everyone for total transparency on what we need here for the district to continue to serve. One thing I'd like to add is I have 44 families that depend on serving in this district. 44 families that depend on being employed by the district. And if things get any worse, some of those employees are going to start to leave, and we're not going to be able to replace them, and this district will get dissolved. So thank you for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions without taking any more of your time today. Thank you very much for allowing me to present today.
Chief Davidson, I don't have a problem taking questions from the council. I don't want to go into a long discussion, but if there's a burning question that someone would like to ask, now is the time. Yes, Vice Mayor.
And perhaps you probably know the answer to this as well. Is this on the Big C radar?
Well, yes and no, because this district only covers Indian Shores, Indian Rocks Beach, and Bel Air Beach.
And Bel Air Shore.
Bel Air Shore, right.
Right. As far as the Big C goes, and we also have 5,300 parcels in the mainland there as well. But as far as the Big C goes, no, because we only go down to Indian Shores.
So my condolences for having to care for a high-value asset parked in a salt-laden environment, and what that's like. Response times, I mean, we've heard you stand up here before and say we have world-class standards in response time, so, I mean, why is this an issue, and how much are you going to shave off that in the future?
We do have excellent response times into all our areas, but as you can see, with the population growth and the density this weekend, give an example, you're not getting anywhere anytime quickly, even with lights and sirens on. You're lucky to be going 20 miles an hour, pedestrians all over, and we need to be able to get to any emergency. The county standard is 7.5 minutes, but we've been doing that in the 4 and 5 minute range, and we want to be able to continue to do that. But we can't plan when it's too late, right? When it's so bad that we can't get there. Now we start planning and funding, and it's going to take 2 more years. We need to get ahead of the problem. And that's where the study came in as the best place to relocate our fire stations as well.
Just one last question then is, you talk about an ad valorem pay scheme, and I'm wondering is a user fee a candidate for this thing? I think of it more as a level playing field where everybody receives the same service, so rather than, make it disproportionate depending on what you own as property, why shouldn't everybody be charged like a flat user fee kind of?
Well, that's a great question. That's how it has been here for the longest time. The way our charter was written, it was a flat rate fire assessment fee, and it's not sustainable. Currently, everybody does pay a flat rate assessment, and there is a disparity. And depending on the value, there's a lot of things. I'll give you some examples. If you live in a 400 square foot home, right, you pay $360. A mobile home, for example. Mobile home catches on fire once it's going. Reality is we're there for about 2 hours and it's going to be a total loss. So the minimum amount of firefighters being put in danger because we're going to do defensive operations, things like that. So that same homeowner is paying $360 for that single wide mobile home. Could live in a 5,000 square foot home and they're also paying $360, which there's a big difference in resources. That home, we could be there for 10 hours with 40 firefighters. So there's a big difference in that and the disparity when it comes to a flat rate. We did increase our flat rate for the voters back in 2019, knowing that it was just a short-term solution because that rate never increases, but our expenses continue to increase. So the only solution would be to have the flat rate and a small ad valorem. Now, that is the permanent solution. Take out the fire stations if we didn't need the fire stations, which we do. Let's say we had 3 fire stations that were brand new and paid for, we would still need an ad valorem to survive. It would be a smaller ad valorem. But the good thing about the way it's going to be presented, if that's what is approved by the board, is it's capped at a 0.67. It cannot go any higher. It can go lower, right? But once we get into that 20 years and the fire stations are paid off, we're going to be looking at what's the next 20 years going to look like. And I can't tell you if we were not here what someone else would charge you. I can't tell you that, but I will tell you that the millage rate for Clearwater is 2.62 mils, and the millage rate for Largo is 2.91 mils. So even with, and somebody's going to have to provide that service. So even with the flat rate and the 0.67 millage rate, it's still much more cost effective and less money to the citizens. But you're also having this is your fire department. You have control over this fire department. You tell me you need something, we're going to plan for that. We're going to be there. That's just what we do. That doesn't necessarily happen when you get stuck into a bigger organization. I spent my career, I grew up in South Florida, retired from there, and it's totally different when you get lost into a big fire department. So you have your own community fire department here, and I'm sure that's what we love it. We absolutely love it. Our firefighters love knowing people in the community and being out there. So again, I couldn't tell you what somebody else would charge you, but that's what they currently charge to people that live outside their city.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else on the council?
Yeah, I would like to say something. Good night to choose to be here, because clearly there's something hot on the agenda. So you've got a lot of people listening. But back to the flat rate, I have to say, your scenario of the mobile home compared to a 5,000 square foot home, that doesn't play out when you're looking at a 1,000 square foot condo.
Right.
You have to go through a building and defend everyone in that building.
Absolutely.
And so that's where the flat rate is really more, when you look at it from a common sense standpoint, we have several condos on our beach, and that probably makes better sense than a flat rate. And I would like to see, it would be nice to see how the scenario works out at a flat rate and what that looks like for all the residents rather than.
That's one thing that I'll be able to do. We have an interactive spreadsheet from the property appraiser's office, which This week I should have the updated version, but I'll be able to sit with every single resident and tell them exactly what this would cost them. And there is a difference. There's someone might see an increase of $8. Somebody could see, we run scenarios where somebody has an increase of $60, you know, and it depends on the assessed value of your home, how long you've been there. If you have saver homes, there's a lot of variables in there. But I'll be able to sit with each and every person to let them know what this would cost them.
Yeah, I think the flat rate's just a more equitable share, if you will, of the services. And we appreciate everything you do. I can see the added value to bringing in new buildings and that sort of thing, and certainly would be behind it, but I'd like to get more details, so
Yes.
I'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Chief, I'm also interested, are there any other communities in the county that are just doing flat rate?
No, sir. So in this county, there are 18 fire departments. There are 14 dependent fire districts, which those are ones that are attached to municipalities. And there are 4 independent fire districts. It's ourselves, Eastlake, Palm Harbor, and Leland. They all have ad valorem. We're the only ones in the entire county that do not have an ad valorem. That's just the way our charter was written. But it's been a long-term problem. Like, we've always had to go back to the voters. We made some small increases knowing it was not a permanent solution. So we are the only ones that do not have that. That's just how our charter was written.
And didn't we attempt that once before in the past, and the outcome of the election was challenged?
Yes, sir. So a lot of people don't know. So it was brought to the voters in 2016 and did pass successfully to implement an ad valorem. However, the ballot language was thought to be unclear. They had talked about lowering the cap. So the state statute is 3.75 mils. Our charter is 3 mils, but the state statute trumps the charter. So the cap on it is 3.75 mils. And in that, they had talked about asking for a half of a mil. They didn't talk about a cap where it could go to, but they did say that they were going to lower the cap. And it was challenged because some people thought their taxes were being lowered when they actually weren't paying a tax. So that did get challenged, and it was ruled that it was unclear. There were some things that happened in those years where some of the residents had felt that there was deception there when I wasn't here, but there was not. It was just poorly written language. And then it continued that we knew we needed this, but at the time, my predecessors didn't feel it was the right time to go back to the voters. So we spent years reestablishing those relationships and building healthy relationships. And we're at the point where this is something we absolutely have to do.
Okay, I think Councilmember Shirley has raised a valid point. I would also like to see the math done where everyone that's paying a flat rate now, there's a payment hike, and let's see where it meets them in the middle somewhere, just so that we have other options. I do know that if we lose this fire district, that the county will charge way more than what you're proposing, but I don't know what that is. Yes, sir.
One last observation. We just went through the stormwater user fee thing, and my recollection of the process is that it's not chiseled in granite. Those rates can be adjusted within certain bounds, and if you want to go outside those bounds, there's just a public hearing process.
No, sir. Well, I'm not saying no, sir, on what you're talking about. I'm talking no, sir, on our ballot and how we're going to present this. So the way it's going to be written is it's going to be capped at a 0.67. It cannot go any higher.
No, I'm talking about usage fees, not the ad valorem. I'm talking about, we went through the stormwater user fee thing, and my understanding of the process was that that isn't chiseled in granite. Am I mistaken?
You're right, you're correct.
I thought within a certain bounds it was adjustable.
I understand.
And if you wanted to go outside those bounds, there was just a public.
The way our charter was written through the state of Florida is any increase, actually even a decrease, has to go before the voters. when it comes to the assessment fee. That's just how our charter was written.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Again, I left business cards in the back. If anybody would like to call me, thank you so much.
Wait one second. Councilmember Roberts has a question.
Gee, thank you for coming tonight. So, I think, Councilmember Jody, that if we just go with one option, I think we may find that this hybrid approach may actually smooth things out with two different groups. When you were talking about the condos versus homes, my guess would be, and I haven't looked at the numbers, that if I'm in group A, I may say that, well, the flat fee for me, just with a flat fee, doesn't work as well for me as it does for the group B. But if we're able to kind of like smooth the curve with having part of the revenue coming in with a flat fee and part of the revenue coming in with an ad valorem, I think you may find at the end of the day that both of the groups, just using the groups as a condo group and a home group, may actually feel that that's more fair in the long term. Just guessing, because I haven't seen the numbers yet, but I think that may be a good approach. You say in all the other locations, use only ad valorem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is that something you guys talked through a little bit?
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. And that's what this would be. This would be a hybrid system where there would be the flat rate and an ad valorem. Because if you, on your points, if you were to take the flat rate that everybody pays and convert that to a millage rate, right, take the flat rate divided by the value of the home, there's a huge disparity in what some people pay. Some people pay, 1 mil in, percent, where somebody else might pay 1/4 of a mil when you compare the values. So those are great points, yes, sir.
All right, I appreciate you coming out and presenting the information to us.
Thank you. Thank you for
Very
having me.
interesting, and I'm sure we'll be discussing this more.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we are on to agenda item 4. That's the law enforcement report from Sergeant McKnight with the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have with me the May 2022 monthly report from the Sheriff's Office for the City of Bethel Beach. On the first page for the UCR property and person crimes report, there is only one crime reported, and that was for an assault. The second page shows number of arrests made in the city during the month of May. There were 5 people arrested for a total of 6 charges. And if you have any questions, please stop me and ask when you have.
We'll ask you at the end.
Okay. The third page shows the deputy activity. There were 714 events in the city of Bel Air Beach for the month of May, resulting in 826 units responding. That's a combination of calls for service from citizens and also proactive law enforcement activity from the deputies assigned to the beach. The last page shows the crash report and citation analysis. There was 1 crash on the causeway during the month of May. And then there was a total of 191 combination of citations and warnings issued in the city of Bel Air Beach during the month of May.
Any questions from the council? Mike Zabel?
Yes, there are actually 2. Where was the location of the assault, and is this considered an imminent danger of increasing or, any further danger to our residents?
No, it was not. The assault was a passenger in a vehicle. The driver of that vehicle was arrested for DUI, and then the passenger was arrested for both resisting arrest without violence, and then once he was being placed in the car, he kicked the deputy in the abdomen.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? And I'm pretty sure you just kind of went right over it. Did you read our code enforcement report also? You did not?
I did not, I'm not familiar with how.
That's quite all right. I heard citations and I jumped right over them. I'm looking for the citations written to homeowners. All right, if there are no other questions, Sergeant, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Now we have the code enforcement report. Is anyone here to present it? Mr. Riegler.
Mayor and council, this is the code report for the month of June. If you look over it, most of the focus was on permitting and construction permits. A couple of things to note, there was a short-term rental that was picked up and also a failing lift that was noticed it's other docks.
Council. Thank you very much, Mr. Riegler. All right. So let's move right on to item number 5. We have a presentation from the Florida League of Cities. Council members Lloyd Roberts and Mike Zabel, please join me on the floor.
Anywhere special?
Oh, that works. So I'm just going to read the letter. On behalf of the Florida League of Cities, I am pleased to award this certificate to you for the completion of the Institute for Elected Municipal Officials in Jacksonville, Florida, held on June the 10th and 11th, 2022. It is our sincere hope that you found the program challenging and worthwhile. We encourage you to take advantage of other training opportunities throughout FLC University. We also invite you to register for the next offering of EMO 2. They're not impressed, okay? That stands for Institute of Elected Municipal Officials, but it's kind of funny. We all call it EMO. When registration opens, you can find dates and locations for other trainings on our event calendar. So I will start with Councilmember Lloyd Roberts.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please be noted, I graduated first.
Oh, you did? Okay, all right.
Fine by me, I graduated.
And the next award goes to Councilmember Mike Zabel. Moving right along. We're up to item 6, which is the quarterly board reports. To begin with, do we have a report from the Board of Adjustments?
Good evening, Council. I'm Mike Kelly, the Chairman of the Board of Adjustment. As far as the quarterly report, last quarter was pretty quiet for our board, but we did have, unfortunately, a resignation for a person that resigned from our board to move on to another city board. So hopefully tonight on your agenda, you folks will handle that and put another person in that particular vacancy. There is a Board of Adjustment meeting set for August 11th, at which time we hope to have a full board. So it's up to you, and we hope you'll do your due diligence tonight and replace that person that resigned.
Thank you very much. Do we have any comments from the council? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the Citizens Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Ron Skanik, Chair of the Citizen Advisory Council. We had 4 meetings this month. The Citizen Advisory Council also serves as the Audit Committee, which includes Councilmember Notaro, where we meet as the Audit Committee. So we met to review the preliminary budget with the mayor back on April 12th. And then the Audit Committee also met June 13th, where we reviewed the annual comprehensive financial report draft. We agreed that it properly represented the financial results of the fiscal year end 9/30/21. There were a couple changes to some footnotes that we requested that needed to be done. Then the Citizen Advisory Council, we met on May 10th. We reviewed the city manager hiring process. The council was engaged to review initial applicants, score applicants, and we reviewed the score sheet, reviewed the timeline with the current city manager and the mayor at that meeting. And then on June 13th, we met to review and accept the scoring tabulations that we had calculated in that process.
Any questions from the council? Yes, Mike.
No, I just want to thank you very much. We really appreciate all the due diligence, the work, especially with so many applicants for the city manager position. So thank you again, and please pass on our thanks to the rest of the committee.
Will do. Thank you, Councilman.
Vice Mayor.
You submitted an email to the council with regards to the city manager hiring process, and you weren't there to talk about it at the meeting. Do you want to recap or?
No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to express that was my own personal opinion. That was not an opinion of the council. And we didn't have time to really address and review all of the, I believe it was 31 applicants. It was a large number. We scored them. But yeah, my personal recommendation would be to slow down. This is a long-term permanent hire. I'd recommend hiring a recruiting firm to really, weed through and maybe find some other candidates that are out there. But we had a handful of candidates that met the scoring tabulations that were put together. But having been involved in the hiring process for over 20 years, I just think this is time to hire the right person for a long-term position. Again, that's my own personal opinion.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Thank you very much. All right, next up is Parks and Rec.
Hey everyone, good afternoon. Tammy Lavenda, Chair of the Park and Rec Board. So for this quarter, just a couple of recaps. We did have one community event, which was the Fly Me to the Moon event. Very successful. It was our first run at having a weather day, so we had to move the event from outside to inside. We do need to find a better way to let people know that it wasn't canceled, because we did have a good turnout, but I think some people kind of saw that we weren't outside and then they left. So in the future, we're going to try to better communicate the fact that all of our events except for Halloween will be in or out, rain or shine. So we will figure out a way to make it go. And we're also able to send Lynn Reeves off with a little retirement farewell at that event, so that was nice. We have 3 proposed community events that will be presented to you later in the agenda. And so I believe you have the budgets for those, and I can answer any questions when we get to that. We will be doing our Health and Wellness Fair January 14th of 2023. Last year we had 23 healthcare providers from Baycare to Publix with their organic line. We had Dr. Trevor Quick, dentists. We had just the gamut of healthcare providers. For this coming up year, what we would really like to do is find more healthcare providers that actually live in Bel Air Beach. So with the help of Jody Shirley and some other people, we were able to find 3 to 5 that actually live in Bel Air Beach that serve bigger communities. But it'll be on the website early, so we're hoping to have more of our residents share their knowledge and their business with our residents. So that's coming up January 14th. And then, let's see, okay. So for the time being, we've suspended the blood drive. We've been doing it for over a year and the numbers are kind of dwindling. So maybe it's because it's summer and people have gone to their other homes, but we might look at doing it in the future. But for right now, we're kind of looking for something to replace that. They do it all the time at Publix across the bridge. So there's lots of places that are close that if you are a diehard, donating blood every time that are close. We still are having yoga, but just in the building because of the heat. We're not having it at Morgan Park just because it's usually very crowded and people are paying for parking, so we'll probably bring that back when it gets a little cooler outside. Something that I didn't know until recently, it's not through Park and Rec Board, but there are tennis lessons there's an instructor and they go through the city. So if anybody's interested in that, you can call City Hall. I think we're going to add that to the Park and Rec Board list of activities just because it fits. Park and Rec Board Beach Survey. We did one since our last quarterly board report, and I'm hoping it's going to be on our website, on our page, where you see what Park and Rec Board surveyed, and then the outcome and the suggested, we have it kind of broken down in categories where things that are easy fix for the maintenance people, things that are already on, like your radar that need to be fixed, repaired, replaced, and things that are kind of on the wish list down the road. So it's on a nice spreadsheet that Kyle helped us put together, so we're hoping to have that on our page as well, so people can see what we are working towards getting accomplished. Our beach cleanups are still continuing every first Saturday of the month, so I'd like to thank you to all the volunteers that come. We really appreciate your help. We had a good volunteer group this holiday weekend, so that was great. So every first Saturday of the month, we meet at 19th Street at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's for 1 hour, and then afterwards we have water and donuts or whatever, and then you're out of there by 9:15. So not a bad way to start your Saturday. Bel Air Beach logoed wear. So we started this about a year and a half ago, and it's going really, really well. As soon as we get some of the things in stock, they're sold right away, especially if they're tied to the event. So we did get some new Bel Air Beach t-shirts and tank tops in stock, and they actually have the correct established in 1950 date. It took us a while to get that correct, just because our provider wasn't really cooperating. But we have hats in stock. They should be here anytime. The beach towels, we've had 2 sets that sold out, so right now we're working on logoed hand towels, so those should be in shortly. Those will also be listed on our website with the pricing, and then there's the Bel Air Beach license plates. Last time I was up here, I mentioned the Bel Air Beach Community Foundation. So since that last update in April, we have made progress. The board has been formed, and we are 75% through the paperwork. We are just getting ready to fill out the application for the 501c3, which obviously is the part that takes the longest. But so far we are moving right along, and I'll continue to update as we make progress. And then also, if anybody has any suggestions, I know you can call City Hall. My number is all over the website. One of our most difficult things that we have, and I know it kind of spreads across everything, is spreading the word of what we're doing. Even if it's on the sign in the front of the building or if it's on the website, I just think a lot of people still aren't seeing it. And you'll see that in one of our proposed events, it's going to be one of our first events we actually are trying to sell tickets to. So we're going to try to, we need to get more people to know about it, I guess. So word of mouth. But if anybody has any suggestions, we would greatly appreciate it. And we do have 2 board openings right now. We have one that you'll vote on later, but we also have one after that. So I think that's it, though. Does anybody have any questions or anything?
Anyone on the council questions?
What was the event you were referring to that we need more word of mouth?
The chili cook-off in November, yeah. So we'll be selling tickets to that, and it's the first event that we'll be selling tickets for beer and wine. We've never actually done that at an event, so it's a new thing that we're trying because it's kind of always been bring your own if you want, but we're going to get all the liability, and you'll see that in the spreadsheet with the budget. because people have been requesting it. Like, they show up and they ask, can I get, a glass of wine? And we haven't done that so far.
I have to admit, I've never heard of chili and wine, but hey,
It's good. Or beer, we'll have beer.
Any other council members? No? Oh, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and the last board report is planning and zoning. Do we have anyone from planning and zoning tonight? Okay. In that case, we'll move right on to item number 7, which is the city attorney's report. Mr. Trask, you have the floor.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I'm covering for Randy. He's on vacation with his family. He said to pass on that he's continuing to transition here at the city, being the new city attorney. He's been working with the city manager on a couple of different items, and he'll continue to do that. And he's available at any time once he gets back in town. In the meantime, you can contact me if you have anything. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any in the city attorney's office.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Trask? All right, thank you. Now we move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Riefler.
Thank you. Mayor and council, we have the upcoming drainage project evaluation, which I am going to have taken care of the video of the pipe. Sometime this month. It's kind of time dependent, so we're scheduled right now for July 22nd. Could be sooner, depending if we can free up their schedule. From there, we plan to use those videos to help design future options for the next stormwater project. We have the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding coming up. We currently have the numbers for phase 1 of the project. I'm in the process of getting together the phase 2 numbers to discuss in the upcoming workshop. The total cost, but looking at completing phase 1 or possibly completing both phases, and what the different numbers would be, and how that would affect us moving forward. We have the 7th Street seawall and boat ramp renovation that's tied together with the 16th Street seawall renovation. That is currently, notice to proceed has been given, and we're just waiting on the county to get through the permitting. That has a start date of July 11th. And from there, we have the City Hall seawall project, which would be right up back here to help prevent some of the eroding that's occurred over time. That currently is, the bid date is to be determined. Funding was increased for the 7th Street and the 16th Street seawalls, but we have more funding coming into the budget with the upcoming year. So that's something to consider moving forward to get that done. And then we have the children's playground replacement that's currently on the agenda tonight.
Councilman.
Is there any update for the 12th and 13th Street project?
We got the results back from the 13th Street video, and I made sure that the engineers had seen that, and then they followed up with a recommendation, and I had Patty forward that. Hopefully everyone got that email.
Okay.
Is that going forward? The project?
Yeah, it's currently going forward.
Any other questions? Mike Sable?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I really need to point this out. Last meeting, we had a vote 4-2 to approve that project going ahead. Some people lost sleep over it. But I reviewed the video. There was catastrophic failure on one of those pipes. It was a collapsed pipe. In addition to gaps between the pipes, root intrusions, we're going to make the video available to the public so you can review it. I believe it's on like the 4th video, around a minute 36 into it, when they're saying, yeah, this pipe collapsed. So I just want to let you know that, yeah, we had a problem. The council went out, we took care of it, started the work on that project, and there was a good reason for it. You know, frankly, it was gone. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I'd like to comment on that.
Go ahead, and then I'll come back to.
Since you brought it up, you did vote to go ahead and move forward before the videos were taken. So that was a dangerous situation. In addition to that, I've asked our interim city manager to take a look at what fixes are available out there, because there are fixes available for joints that aren't working well, where you can repair them from the inside without replacing the pipe. So just to make you aware of that, please step way out there.
But again, we had a collapsed pipe.
We did have a glass pipe, so you can fix one pipe.
All right, gentlemen.
Okay, we'll go on. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Banks.
This is my rebuttal. I'll use it in the city councils about 13th and 12th Thursday Street. I'll use it during council meetings, why I voted for it. But what I wanted to ask the city manager, interim city manager, Mr. Drummond got up about the fine on his mother's home. Is that on your agenda to try to resolve this? Because I don't understand the whole thing, how a bounce check can go from $100 to $29,000. Unfortunately, we have a 3-minute time limit for Mr. Drummond. I don't think he could express himself the whole $29,000 worth. I would like to see it resolved.
My plan is to review the paperwork he's given and then compare it to what we have in our file and then send it out so that you guys can see other.
Can we have a meeting, maybe Mr. Drummond and I with you, and go over this? When you get everything ready?
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Mr. Baker, please be aware that the city attorney is also looking.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
I just had a quick question on the City Hall seawall project. When will you have, it just says date to be determined, so I know it's off in the future. Are we proposing that the beach goes away and that we have that all is seawall out there? Is that what the proposal is, or the drawings look like? I don't know, I haven't seen it.
Well, currently, it had some like geomatting and some riprap, and that was supposed to help prevent the erosion. When we did the stormwater project, we had some of the machines come over and try to replace the riprap to get into the better spot to prevent future erosion. But it is happy with the water coming up higher and slowly eating away the land back there. So we had a design of a seawall we installed to be like a permanent fix to level it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's just flowing out to the channel and,
Yes.
shallowing the channel. It's not as though the seawater is rising, it's just a movement of water
Yeah.
that causes that. And so, yeah, if we had a seawall, that's what I'm trying to find out, because has anyone seen any drawings on, or anything on that? Just be curious if you could share that with us, that would be great.
Yeah, we have drawings, so we can sort of project what the cost would be. We might need a little bit more money pulled in from what we're allotting this year's budget, but it could be doable, something to look at throughout the bid this year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we move on to item 9, which is the city clerk's report. Mr. Gingrey, you have the floor.
Council made their decisions to move forward to contact the candidates and see if they're still available and offer them the opportunity to apply for the position. So that's what we're working on now. And then the Board of Adjustment, we're just beginning to start that process, which is, mailings, notifying the surrounding residents, and getting everything ready for the hearing. And that's what I have for now.
Council.
Patty, today was the first day you were going to contact those candidates. I think there were 7. How did you make out, if we can ask?
Well, we haven't started yet.
Oh, we haven't? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're going to start tomorrow. I'm sorry, Councilman Baker.
Anything else? All right, we are on to item number 10. We're finally into the consent agenda. So This first item is approval of the May 16th, 2022 City Council work session minutes and approval of the June 1st, 2022 special council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. Now we're on to the regular agenda. This is item 12. It's consideration of ordinance 2002. Mr. Trask, would you please read the summary for us?
So this is ordinance 2022-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, providing for an amendment to section 30-141 of the City Code of Ordinances pertaining to the Gulf of Mexico Safety Zone, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for approval of an amendment to section 30-141 of the City Code of Ordinances to establish the boundaries of vessel exclusion zones in the city's coastal waters, providing for severability, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing for an effective date. That was the first reading of ordinance 22-02 by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Trask. Do I have a motion? Motion on this ordinance. Okay, the motion dies. All right, so now we are on to agenda item 13. Consideration of resolution 2022-04. Mr. Trask, would you please read the summary?
Thank you, Mayor. This is resolution 2022-04, resolution of the City Council of Bel Air Beach, Florida, approving the fiscal year 2022-2023 non-ad valorem assessment roll for the Bellevue Estates Island Assessment Area, directing certification of the assessment roll to the Pinellas County Tax Collector and providing for an effective date. That was the reading of resolution 2022-04 by title only.
Do I have a motion on this resolution 2022-04?
So approved. Okay. You want to jump in?
Go ahead.
All right. Leslie Nataro, and seconded by Jody Shirley. Ms. Nataro, you have the floor.
I have no comments. Turn it over to Kyle or the city attorney if they have comments on it.
This is just an annual requirement of the assessment roll to have it certified.
Yes.
Just one question, are there any changes over the previous years?
Not with any of the pricing. We had, I believe, it was one property payoff.
Okay, so there's no changes.
Other council members? All right, any comments from the citizens? All right, back to the council, with Leslie Nataro having the last word.
No further comments.
All right, we need to, I think we could just get away with a voice vote, or because it's a resolution, it needs to be a roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Councilmember Notaro?
Aye.
Councilmember Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley?
Yes.
Councilmember Zabel?
Aye.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gunn?
Aye.
Mayor Davis?
Aye, 7-0, it's unanimous. And resolution 2022-04 is on the books. All right, we're moving right along to item number 14. This is consideration of approval for Parks and Rec for proposed schedule of events. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Jody Shirley, do I have a second?
Second.
Mike Sabel. Jody, you have the floor?
Yeah, I think that, looking at the schedule of events, they're timed appropriately. The budgets don't seem out of line. I like what the Parks Board's doing, and I think we should support them in what they're doing.
Thank you very much. Other comments? Yes, Ms. Navarro.
For the Halloween costume contest, item, dog water bowls, description, Halloween donuts, $150. Are we paying that much for donuts, or are we paying that much for dog water balls? See what I'm talking about? Want me to see that? Just curious.
Line it up.
The typo?
No, last year we did apple cider and water and donuts, but this year because
We couldn't, there's a wedding that Saturday, so we have to move it to the Sunday
Let
after.
me interrupt you for 1 second.
Sure.
I think there's a typo, and she just wants clarification.
Oh.
It's item 2 on the Halloween costume contest. It says item is dog water bowls, and the description is Halloween donuts.
Then it might be a typo.
Okay, so which one is it?
Both of them.
It's not the dog bowls.
Okay, fair enough.
Just curious.
Oh, no, that makes sense. It was revised like 10 times, so it was probably just a typo. But if you want me to explain that, I will real quick, because last year we did a parade, which we are not going to do again. We are going to do more like a trunk or treat, because we definitely needed the time for the judges and all of that. So we're going to try to find some volunteers, but the city will also have their trunk per se, where we're handing out candy. So that will kind of cover donuts, but also like beverages and dog treats and all that good stuff.
Great. Any other questions from the council?
On the holiday social and tree lighting, I don't know if this, I guess this might be more your area, Kyle. We seem to always pull the tree lighting down right after January 1st. A lot of towns leave their trees up till the Epiphany, January 6th. Can we do something on council by leaving the tree lit till the 6th?
Yeah, I think that's not a problem. Typically, just after the holiday, we bring it down, but we can make effort to keep it up to that date. Wouldn't be an issue.
Does that mean you go anywhere, Mr. Mayor, or is it?
It's not even on the schedule. There's no end date for the tree. I think that was just what the city manager was doing, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council or comments? All right, let's take it to the citizens. Thank you. Any comments or questions from the citizens? All right, back to the council. Council member, let's see, Shirley having the last word. No? Okay, this one I believe we can do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, it looks like we've got 3 events in the near future. Okay. Now we are on to item 15. This is consideration of appointment to the Board of Adjustments. The person's name is David Gardella. Before we begin, do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Frank Baker, seconded by Jody Shirley. Frank Baker, you have the floor.
I believe his application for appointment speaks volumes, and I believe we should move on it.
Any other questions from the council or comments? No? Is Mr. Gardella here?
Yes.
Mr. Gardella, would you like to come and address the council?
Good evening, Council. David Gardella, 705 Harbor Drive. I also happen to be the fire commissioner for Bel Air Beach. So just if you have any questions during this run up to the chief's plans for the referendum, let me know. But I like to volunteer my time and effort for the Board of Adjustments. I understand we just meet when there's a variance application. And I like the fact that Bel Air Beach, for the Board of Adjustments, you make a decision, yea or nay, for the application, and that's the final decision for the city. I know our neighbor down the street, Indian Rocks, they got a Board of Adjustment committee. They vote on something, they can approve it 5-0, but the council can vote the next month and deny it. So I like the fact that the Board of Adjustments here, you sort of study the issue, and it's the final vote. So looking forward to helping out and being available.
Thank you very much. While He is here. Anyone do you have any questions for Mr. Gardella? Vice Mayor Good.
I just have a question regarding the constraints for, I know the charter talks about board of adjustment and not being able to sit on other boards or committees. And I just want to make sure there's nothing there to prevent the fire commission board.
So you're asking because he's a fire commissioner for the Pinellas County or the fire district?
Yeah, I just want to make sure there's no conflict. I personally have no problem with it. I just don't want this to become an issue later on.
Yeah, there is no conflict. The question comes in is it dual office holding? So I think that we probably should take a look at that. I don't know the answer off the top of my head because I need to look at their charter. I'm not really that familiar with it. I need to look at your charter and your code too. So you could approve it subject to the city attorney's review of it, and then if we find that it's prohibited under the dual office prohibition, then we can bring that back to you and let you know that, and you can appoint somebody else. But let's research that. And it's a dual office issue.
Any other council comments?
Wouldn't he just be able to resign from his other one?
I want to make sure that there is no violation first. If there's no violation, you would need to resign.
I will add that I did go through the code, and I'm not an attorney, nor do I stay at Holiday Inn Express. But I didn't see any conflict. However, I did not look at the Pinellas Suncoast Fire District, so there may be a conflict there. But in any case, I think that this would be just pending final legal review. If we vote to approve you, and then once we get to go ahead from our attorney, then we'll just move right forward.
Would that make me available for, I guess there's a scheduled meeting on the Board of Adjustments for August?
I believe we can certainly get you approved between now and August.
Okay.
I don't think that there will be a problem there. Does anyone have any other questions for Mr. Gardella? No?
Thank you for your help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Thank
stepping
you.
up.
Yes, looking forward to helping out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any citizens that would like to speak?
I'm Mike Kelly, and I just came up here to endorse David's application, David's credentials. I've known David personally for over 30 years. He's a very committed person. He's a man of conviction. He'd be an excellent addition to our board. Thank you. In addition to your comment, Mr. Mayor, you and I both talked about the way that our charter is written, and we see no conflict because the fire district is basically a county situation. It is not a city board, and as a result, we suggest that Mr. Gardella's nomination be approved. We do not see any conflict whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will still have to wait until we get final approval, but I think this is something that can happen in a day. I don't think so. Does that seem doable?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so any other citizen comments? No? All right, let's bring it back to the council. No comments?
Do you want to amend that motion?
Yes, someone would need to do that. Thank you so much for calling that out.
So I move to amend the current motion to consideration of the appointment of David Gardella to the Board of Adjustment pending review and approval by the city attorney, or subject to final review.
Okay, so you're making a motion to alter it to where it's consideration of appointment to the Board of Adjustments, David Gardella, pending legal review.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second on that
Second.
motion? Second?
I'm confused. I mean, if we vote for this, and then the city attorney says it's cool, do we have to do it anything else?
No.
Okay.
No, but we still have to, vote to amend it, and then we have to vote on the amended motion. Okay, so, did I have a second on that motion? Jody Shirley? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's to amend. All right, so now we're back to the original motion. This is consideration of appointment to the Board of Adjustments of David Gardella, pending legal review. Patty, let's see, Patty, would you please call the roll? I had to think about that for a minute.
Councilmember Notaro,
Aye.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Gagos.
Aye, so it's unanimous, and pending congratulations. And thank you for volunteering. All right, we're on to item number 16. This is consideration of appointment of an alternate member to the Citizens Advisory Committee. The nomination is for Dr. Brian G. Dillard. Do I have a motion?
Move to appoint.
Motion made by Leslie Notaro. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mike Zabel?
Yes.
Leslie, you have the floor.
I think, as I said, the resume speaks for itself. I think it would be a good addition.
Any other council comments? No? All right, is Dr. Dillard here? Dr. Dillard was not able to make it. Would any of the citizens like to speak on behalf of Dr. Dillard? Nope. Last chance for comments? All right, let's bring it back to the council with Leslie Notaro having the last
Mayor,
word.
Mayor, I'd like to just add a couple things. His resume is quite impressive, I agree. He's not a registered voter in the city. And I know we have some restrictions on council positions regarding registered voters. But where are we, or is it that you have an NA? Does that mean the information's not available, or he's not a voter? What does that mean, Patty?
A committee member does not have to be a registered voter, only a board member.
I understand that's in our code. But it just brings to question when we have the advisory committee, who, I kind of put a high level of faith in, and if they're not a registered voter, I'm not sure how that affects our citizens.
Right, I understand.
I'm going to go a little further on that. The resume looks great. However, if he's not a registered voter here, that probably means he's homestead somewhere else, which means the majority of the time he's living outside of the city of Bel Air Beach. Now, I could be wrong. This is all speculative, but if it happens to be a snowbird and the greater percentage of the year is not here, even though this is not a standard board, this is one of our committees we put together, I believe that this is one of our most important committees we have because they do the hard work and they meet often.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a motion to table this, to bring him in to discuss this? He may have registered today for all we know, that's what I'm saying.
Frank Baker is making a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
That's Mike Zabel. We're going to have to do this by roll call.
You can do it by voice vote.
You do it by voice vote? All right. Well, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Yeah, for me as well.
All right, so that's 5-2, and the motion is tabled. to item number 17. This is for consideration of appointments to the Park and Recreation Board of one regular member and one alternate member. There are currently 2 members. The first is Patty Roberts, who is currently an alternate member. And the second is Deborah DeCosimo, who is a new applicant. This is to fill the vacancy of one person on a 5-member board and one of the 2 vacancies for alternates. There are currently only 4, well, that's right now, there are currently only 4 board members, and this board does not, or has 1 alternate. Names are listed in the order their applications were received. The first was Patty Roberts, and the second was Deborah DeCosimo. Before we begin, do I have a motion for this consideration?
Motion.
Motion by Baker.
We need the specifics on the motion. Is it a motion to appoint Patty Roberts as the full-time board member and Deborah as the alternate, or vice versa?
This is actually a motion to, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
My motion is to open up for discussion of a vote of the 2 candidates, possible 2 candidates.
Generally, what we do is we pass out a piece of paper. It'll have the 2 candidates and the 2 positions, and the council will vote which way each person should represent that particular board.
Okay, I understand that. And then, so that we all know then that you need to not only pick the person, but you also need to sign that ballot.
Yes.
And so the city clerk can take that down. Okay.
Correct.
Understood.
Yes.
You have to go through the process, that's fine.
Okay, would you like to repeat that one more time?
This is the motion is to open up discussion for the 2 applicants applying for the Parks and Recs Board and to vote thereafter.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Zapata. Sorry, Boyd Roberts. All right. Any discussion? Oh, all right. Is Ms. Roberts here? Nope, not tonight. Okay. How about Ms. DeCosimo? Is she here?
She's in Anchorage.
So neither candidate is here. All right. So let's take it to the citizens. Any citizens that you'd like to make a comment concerning these 4 assignments? Oh. All right, back to the council. And we'll share comments? All right, Patty, would you please pass out the ballots? Hopefully we haven't done that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, oh, give you my credit card receipt. Sorry.
I'll
Councilmember Baker voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the alternate and Ms. Roberts as the member. Councilmember Notero voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the alternate and Ms. Roberts as a member. Councilmember Roberts voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the alternate and Ms. Roberts as the member. Mayor Gaddis voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the alternate and Ms. Roberts as a member. Vice Mayor Gunn voted for Ms. Cosimo as the member and Ms. Roberts as the alternate. Councilmember Shirley voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the member and Ms. Roberts as the alternate. And Councilmember Zabel voted for Ms. DeCosimo as the alternate and Ms. Roberts as the member.
Okay, so it looks like Ms. Roberts becomes the full member at 5-2, and Ms. DeCosimo becomes the alternate at 5-2. Congratulations to both volunteers. We greatly appreciate their service, and I'm sorry that neither one's here to be congratulated.
I get dinner tonight, so that's good. I said, and I get dinner tonight.
And on these nights, that is a special thing. All right, we're up to number 18, and this is to authorize the interim city manager to execute the contract for law enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2022/23. Before we begin, do I have a motion?
I would make a motion to table.
Okay, I think Frank Baker had the first, and you can't motion a table until we get to the second. Does anyone would anyone like to make a second on this one?
Second.
Second by Julie Shirley. All right. Mr. Baker, you have the floor.
Yes, I believe the memorandum speaks for itself, and we should move forward with this. I don't know why we consider table it. That's my
Other comments from the council?
I would agree with what you just said. The sheriff has been one of the best things we ever did.
Thank you. Mr. Gunn?
I would just say this is one of our largest expenses in the city. But the service provided, we've been very pleased with this. This is a 5.18% increase, and it seems within the realm of what's going on in the economy today. I think it's still a good deal. $62 an hour, if you figure 365 by 24 hours. That's pretty good for a person. Skill set as well as the vehicle and all of that. So I'm in favor of this. Thank you.
Mike Zabel.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I have no problem with your comments. And I'm approaching this strictly former contracts officer. The reason I brought that up is I used to work for the Navy Inspector General for Audit and Follow-up as a deputy director. And we are very concerned about something called an Anti-Deficiency Act. That's where you're spending money that you do not have yet. And that includes money in projected budgets. Going through the contract, you're using 22-23 funds. We have not approved that budget. That budget does not get approved for at least another month and a half. The council is currently considering changes to not only perhaps the sheriff, but also to the code enforcement. Signing a contract now, one, is kind of breaching the anti-deficiency because we're spending money that we do not have in-house. Two, it blocks the committee into approving regardless of what we see in the budget. We may have to cut back. We're required by law to have a balanced budget. And again, I'm talking just strictly, I could be totally wrong, but I'm coming at this strictly legal. The problem is the timing of this contract. It should not be signed while we are considering the budget from which it is funded. This should be gapped or sign an extension so that we sign this contract with money in the bank and that the council has fully understood and signed up for the obligations in that contract. And we can only do that after the complete discussions of the budget. So, I mean, you don't come with a problem and not a solution. My solution would be to contact the sheriffs, extend the contract until it starts October 1st. I would say until after we get a final budget once we have the final budget and the money is in the bank, basically after the first, we can then legally commit the city to that contract. That was the reason for it. It's not for the services. It's just that I have to make you understand from my perspective, legally in government, you can't spend money that you do not have, and we do not have that until October 1st. That's all.
1 second. Mr. Winkler, is it my understanding, am I correct that we can alter the amount of services that we contract with the Nellis County Sheriff? Or is it a flat rate done deal and we can't change it ever?
We can alter the services on both the law enforcement and the code.
And I thought that that was sort of on the fly. We could raise or lower those services at any time based upon our needs and also our budgeting.
Yeah, I know for a fact that in the code enforcement, it says the hours discussed or agreed to, but I think the city manager would try to find it in the law enforcement contract.
It's in paragraph number 5 of the agreement, power of the city to direct services, so there's language in there that you need. And also want to bring to your attention that the contract doesn't start until October the 1st. And you also have a 120-day termination provision in it also. You can terminate it with 120 days notice, so this doesn't lock you in for any period of time greater than that. But that paragraph 5 says the sheriff or his designee shall confer with the city manager regarding law enforcement problems within the city, and shall accept the city manager general policy direction on how the law enforcement services are delivered and to what portion of the municipality a particular type of level of service should be delivered to counteract law enforcement problems within the city, and it goes on. So you have a couple of different things there that will address that.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. Vice Mayor, then.
I was just going to say, that's a good catch. I understand exactly where you're coming from with my background government-wise. And so the approval of this, is this something we're just doing to get off our plate right now, or is there a timetable trying to keep in the sheriff's office? I mean, is this something we could amend and once again just final review of the budget process and approve the budget? And
Yeah, I believe that it's something we can amend. I will double check just to make sure.
The thing is, though, I mean, I'll just say this, is that we, different than many government contracts, I'm sure you guys are waiting for funding from a higher government source. In this situation, the taxes are guaranteed sort of funding. We're not in the same situation as you would be in a contracting position in a military establishment.
I disagree. This is a case where you're a government entity and you cannot spend legally money that you do not have and get agreed to the money or the way in which you spend it yet.
We couldn't have agreed to any contract then because the money comes in over a period of time.
No.
So there's not, I mean, that would be, I mean, that, you know, thinking of it from that standpoint, I'm just looking at it going, okay, well, we don't get, just because we have these ad valorem taxes, we don't get payment on when they pass in September, October, we get payment over time.
Yeah, in government contracting, it's very specific. We're talking about the fiscal year. You can't touch any money until October 1st of that year. So you do not have that money. We cannot, and again, we cannot enter into a contract with nothing in the bank. You can't write a blank check, which is what we would be doing to the sheriff's department. I just want to make sure that we finish the budget, that we've all agreed on the level of services going in so we can negotiate the best rates. But then we can enter onto a contract after the beginning or just prior to the beginning of the fiscal year, knowing that when we write that check, that $11,000 a month, it's a $500,000 contract, that we have that money in the bank legally.
Mr. Zabel, Vice Mayor has a comment.
I just want to say that the anti-deficiency aspect of this thing aside, let's just give this thing a sanity check. That is, you're approving our largest line item in the budget before we even had the final review of our budget. So from the common sense perspective, I would say, aside from the anti-deficiency question, is that let's wait. I mean, what's the hurry in this thing? This is our biggest line item in our budget so far as expenses go. We haven't even had that meeting and we're already approving that budget now, so.
Was there a deadline?
That I'll have to check.
Is that where?
Ms. Natoro?
Paragraph 6 of the agreement says, "The obligation for monetary payments called to be made hereunder shall be deemed to exist for less than a year at any point in time, and shall be entirely subject to the legislative budgetary discretion of the city." So there's really no conflict between signing it now before our budget is approved. This is on page 6 of 12.
So this just defies, let's write a check for something we haven't even discussed, whether or not, what's in our bank account or what our other expenses are. So it just doesn't, it defies my sense of what, are we acting responsibly for the citizens and being the stewards of their budget? I say, let's go through the budget process the way we're supposed to do this thing, and then sign the checks, figuring out what we have in our bank account. That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions before I go to the citizens? Is this rate locked in if we don't approve this tonight?
I believe it is, but I'll let me check everything on that.
Because if it's not locked in, this could escalate. And it's $11,000 a month. It's not a rate check of $59,000 tonight. And we do have a reserve fund. So I don't believe that we violate our budget fiscal responsibilities. All right, let's go to the citizens. Would anyone like to comment on this? Okay, back to the council one more time. Yes.
Can I just say, in the past, I know we've had some conflicts like this where we weren't certain, and we just took a step back, and we had the sheriff come in and talk to us about the contract.
Yes.
We discussed additional hours, we discussed pulling back some deputies, adding deputies. He gave us some flexibility. He was very candid about talking to us about everything in the contract we had questions on. And so I would almost propose that we maybe go that path, just look at that. But I don't want to offer another, something else to vote on right now, so everyone has a chance to speak, but just thinking down that path.
Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I guess I get a little frustrated when I keep hearing the term, we have reserve funds. We just watched the Pinellas Fire Department show us a slide, and they've been astute enough to forecast 5 years ahead, and even 20 years ahead, and we have never done that. We keep talking about reserve funds, and never once have we projected our expenses and our revenues past the next year to see what's happening to our reserves. What's the burn rate of our reserves? When do we run out of that reserve fund? We've never done that. So I'm kind of frustrated, and I admire the Pinellas Fire County for doing their homework. We have yet to sit down and do that ourselves.
Well, we have a strategic plan that mentions with safety about 6 or 8 times in it. And
when was that reviewed last?
Correct. Okay, so you're saying that we shouldn't look into safety and cut the sheriff out. So everyone here, with the price of ammo going up, should go home and lock and load. I mean, we're not going to cut the sheriff's budget. Okay, we're not going to negotiate unless we cut back on manpower. Now, if you want to put the citizens at risk, do what you want to do. Okay, and table this. All right, but these guys, $62 an hour, you work too cheap, in my opinion. All right, you're well worth every dime we pay and more.
No one is disputing the cost.
Yes, you are.
No one is disputing the line item. It's the protocol and the chronology and timeline of doing it the right way. Let's start doing things the right way instead of just shooting from the hip saying, we've got money in the reserves. I think you will get to the exact same point and the exact same cost, but we are going to do it right.
Just like a government official would do, okay? Drag it right through the mud and then come up with the same results. Thank you.
Because we're being responsible.
Right, that's not being responsible, being irresponsible.
Point of order. Brandon. Okay, I think that we've talked about this enough for now. We either need to table this or we need to vote on it.
Move the table until we review the budget process.
Okay, I hear a motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second the motion to table.
All right, so now we must take a vote on the motion to table. Let's just go ahead and do this on a roll call, please.
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Councilmember Notero? No. Councilmember Roberts?
No.
Councilmember Shirley? Aye. Councilmember Zabel?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gunn?
Aye to table.
Mayor Gaddis?
No. So we're back to voting on this. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a roll call vote on approving this contract.
Do you need to bring it back to citizens, Mr. Mayor? Just as parliamentary procedure here.
We did, all we did was vote to table it and it stopped. We're right back to the original motion. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So now we're to the vote. Patty?
Councilmember Zabel?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley? No. Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Notero?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gunn?
Nay.
Mayor Gaddis?
Yes. So the motion passes 5-2. And Mr. Reefer, you may proceed with that contract. All right, we're on to item number 19, which is to authorize the interim city manager to execute the contract for code enforcement services with the Pinellas County Sheriff for fiscal year 2022-23. Before we begin, do I have a motion?
Move to authorize.
Leslie Nataro, do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Leslie Nataro, you have the floor.
I believe, what has been said before about the other contract with the sheriffs. I think we should do this for the same reason. Yeah.
Other comments from the council? Vice Mayor.
This contract is amendable at any time, Tom? So let me look at that. The reason I ask is because there's been discussion in the work sessions and at previous meetings about whether or not we were going to review how we were going to do this and create a hybrid or not. And when I work the numbers, we're still at 20 hours a week. So I'm just wondering if this thing is amendable pending future discussion or consideration.
So paragraph 6 of this contract says the sheriff will provide one part-time community policing deputy code enforcement, who shall be provided on an as-needed basis. The specific hours of work of this community policing deputy shall be determined by his or her supervisor after consultation with the city manager. The community policing deputy will investigate and take enforcement actions for violations of the city's code of ordinances, will track and prepare statistical reports for the city concerning the numbers and types of violations issued on a monthly basis, and interact with both citizens and businesses to address and resolve code violation-related issues. And I would also bring to your attention that unlike the previous agreement that had a 120-day termination requirement, this is only 60. So it's a lot smaller window that you have to take to terminate this agreement, if you want to do that.
Other comments from the council?
Yeah, I'd like to just add that, again, it's one of those items we discussed in work session. It was brought to us by city manager that they wanted to consider reorganizing how we're handling code, yet we've got a contract in front of us to hire the sheriff's department to handle code. We didn't address the items we discussed in a work session. We're right back to contradicting, I'm not sure why we have a work session if we're not going to follow what we discussed in the work session, and we bring it in front of council to vote on.
Other comments from the council?
Well, I think just to reiterate again, that our legal counsel just read, it is amendable. So at any time, the city manager could meet with the sheriff and say, we want the hours to be X, which would include 20 to 0, if we wanted to bring somebody internally on.
Today is July 5th, and the contract isn't up until the end of September. Just, we have a window to discuss that and decide how we want to proceed.
And I
Which is back
mean,
to,
as far as this goes, this particular contract, is there a specific, I think that they give us the opportunity to alter it one direction or the other, and rapidly, is my understanding. And I've spoken with Sheriff Gualtieri about this before, and he said he would do whatever it took to make sure that we were satisfied with those services. And if it's too much or too little, he's willing to be flexible and work with us. Just like the contract says, it may be 60 days instead of 120, but it's still, I think maybe the reason why we're getting ahead of this is to announce our intentions that we want to continue to engage with the sheriff's department. Now, I could be wrong, but this is probably giving them time to plan just like it's giving us time to plan. But the last thing that I would do is them to not have the manpower to service us because we delayed it. Either way, I think that we could probably, because it's a shorter running contract, we could delay this vote if the council sees so, and then talk about it after the next work session. I'll leave that up to the council. Before I get to the citizens, do we have any other comments from the council? Yes, Ms. Notaro.
I just noticed, and I should have seen this before, on page 4 of 6, it says notice shall be given to Lynn Reeves, the city manager.
That should probably be altered.
Yeah, just city manager, period. Do I have to make a motion to amend, or does that?
Interim city manager.
Interim city manager. Or,
I think it's something that we can correct.
Typographical error will be corrected. The motion as you currently have is sufficient.
Okay, any other council comments before I take it to the citizens? No? Citizens, any comments? Nope. All right, let's bring it back to the council, and Leslie Notaro has the last word.
so we vote on it.
Okay. Patty, I think we're going to do another roll call vote on this.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro?
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley?
no,
Councilmember Zabel?
No.
Vice Mayor Gunn?
Nay.
Mayor Gavus?
No. So the motion fails 4-3. We're moving right on to item number 20. This is to authorize the interim city manager to execute a purchase order for the replacement of Bayside Park play structure. Do I have a motion?
Move to authorize it.
President Notaro, and do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mike Zabel?
Yes.
Ms. Notaro, you have the floor.
I think this looks like a definite, proper addition to our park out there, and I think it would be great. I wish I had little kids to play on. Somebody's little kids?
Other comments from the council?
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead. Well, I-
Vice Mayor Gunn.
go ahead.
Is Tammy still here? The Parks and Rec Board, I didn't follow all their discussion. Was this one of the recommendations that they proposed? Funding this playground equipment? I mean, it seems to me they're the Parks and Rec people. Does this have their full support? And if so, they have a budget. Are they stakeholders and are they willing to chip in and make a contribution to this equipment?
Mr. Riefler.
It was part of their recommendations to replace the playground in their surveys that they did of the parks. And then in the meeting, I told them that the next step would be to propose it to the council for the replacement. At the very least, we had to do something about the current playground.
So do they feel strongly enough to obligate some of their budget towards this equipment?
I'd have to go back and ask them. I can't speak for them.
Motion to table. So we have some feedback from the Park and Rec Committee.
All right, we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Judy Shirley. Let's take a vote on this one.
Can I make a comment on the motion to table, or we don't do that?
Can I make a comment on a motion to table?
Okay.
Ms. Gentry, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Councilmember Notaro?
No.
Councilmember Roberts?
No.
Councilmember Shirley?
Yes.
Councilmember Zabel?
No.
Vice Mayor Gunn?
Aye.
Mayor Gaddis?
No. So the motion to table fails, and we are right back to the discussion. Do we have any other comments from Council right now? Yes, Ms. Notaro.
In the memorandum, it says the funding is available in the 21-22 capital projects budget. So it's not like we're using next year's money or that the money's not there. It's in the budget.
Thank you for bringing that up, and that was going to be my next comment. Do we have any other comments right now?
That was going to be one of my questions. Is it actually budgeted, or is it just excess in the funding? I'm trying to understand, was this something the previous council budgeted for?
It's budgeted, the capital projects for the Bayside Park Master Plan, so it's improvements towards the park.
I just find it interesting when we go, we have no kids, but let's vote to spend $14,000.
I'm going to challenge that. We do have kids, they just don't live on your street.
Oh,
And
I'm the
and
first one.
I would rather them be here in this park than running up and down the street, because we still do have a little bit of a speeding problem, and this is a great place for them to come and burn off some energy if there was something for them to do out there.
And I just make note, this structure's for age 2 to 5, so if they're running in the street, that's probably a bigger problem than.
You are correct.
And I'm the first one that uses. I have now 4 grandchildren. We would use them all under the age of 5. But I don't want to spend $15,000 of the city's money entertaining my grandchildren that don't live here in the city. And so I'm just trying to be realistic to make sure, one, do we have, we're still budgeting, we're still talking about all these unfinished utility projects. There's so many things on the table. Is a play set for a 2 to 5-year-old top priority?
So I'm going to challenge you on that. That budget was approved, and the money was set aside for that park. Is that correct?
Currently, we have $56,640 prior year funding.
So for some reason, we voted to approve a budget for that park, but what else are we going to do with it?
I think there was a big plan, a big master plan for the entire park. Am I correct in saying we had a master plan?
The last plan was the grant, $200,000 grant we put together. So since then, there has not been a plan per se.
I've seen a plan float around, I'm just saying, I don't know whatever came of that.
That plan failed because it was asking for way more money than we would ever be willing to budget for that park. So even though they were willing to give us money, we had to meet them dollar for dollar, and we did not have it. We were trying to figure out how to cut corners and save our money. And I think that this is a compromise compared to what we were originally talking about. Now, that funding, does it also include what's going on with the seawall out here?
No, that's separate.
Completely separate. Okay. I don't have any more comments right now. Anyone else before I go to the citizens?
The current condition of that equipment out there now, is it dangerous?
It's at the point where it needs to be removed. So at the very least, I think I'd like approval to demolish what's existing.
That nobody gets hurt or
It
sued.
has no replacement parts available. It's, the plastic itself is deteriorating and the slide as a whole.
I agree with the council member about spending $15,000 on entertaining kids. I mean, I have a hard time with that, but if you're going to have a park, you have a park. So, I'm stuck in the middle here. But that, my grandkids go over there and play, and I've noticed it's deteriorating pretty rapidly.
Any other comments?
We went through one iteration of this a couple of years ago where we yellow taped off the area. And did we replace any of that equipment, or did we just remove some of the really?
We attempted to repair the slide, and it broke again since then.
What's the average lifespan on this hardware?
I'd have to check with the manufacturer, but they told me it was past its full life. I didn't get the exact date. It's 20 plus years now.
Did they take Florida sun into consideration, or is it in shade over there?
Well, it's in shape, but it has its own challenges with the branches and the moisture and all that. But
Okay. Let's take it to the citizens right quick, and then we'll dial it back in up here and take a vote. Come on, guys. All right, back to the council. Leslie, you have the last word. Okay, let's take it to a vote. Hey, please call the roll.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Councilmember Notaro,
Yes.
Councilmember Shirley,
No.
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Councilmember Zabel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Nay.
Mayor Davis.
Yes, so it passes 5-2. Mr. Riegler, you may proceed with the playground equipment. All right, we are now on to unfinished business. Council? No? All right. If we have no unfinished business, we're on to item 22, which is council comments. This month, we go in reverse alphabetical order, so we will start with Councilmember Zabel.
Time you start with me first. Actually, don't want to waste your time. Enjoy your evening. That's all I have. Thank you.
Next up, Councilmember Shirley.
Yeah, I don't have much more to say. It was nice to see the seats full. It's a shame everyone left to have a long meeting, but thanks for coming out and participating.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts.
Nothing additional.
All right. Councilmember Notaro.
Yes, in regard to all the people around here before, those were all condo people from the beach who were here to talk about the buoy thing. And I was reading in last week's LRB or Beach Bee, whatever it is, that Indian Rocks Beach is having the same issues with their buoys and stuff. And I think it would benefit us to work with the other communities along the beach to get together, possibly. We've got the Big C meeting here at the end of July, right, Patty? We should put it on the agenda then, on that agenda, and discuss it, and have our city manager and our city attorney work with their comparable officials from the other cities and see if we can get together and come up with a workable solution other than the boating zones and swimming zones and stuff. Maybe if we do that together, we can have some influence on the guys up in Tallahassee who are messing with the buoys.
Thank you very much.
I got a related question.
Okay, go right ahead.
Related to that, my question is did Indian Rocks, did they just pop up on the radar, or are they just getting caught up in our debacle this evening?
I don't have factual information on what happened with that.
I can get that
I
answer.
can answer that question. It says, in April of this year, we were notified by the Fish and Wildlife Commission that our buoy system may not be in compliance with new state statutes. And that's exactly what happened to us. So the new state statutes have affected all of the beach communities, and I think...
I have to correct you there.
Okay.
Point of order. They're not new state statutes. It was passed by the legislation in 2009, went into effect in 2010. I talked to Mr. Moore that there is a workable solution here under 327.46 of the statute, 1A under the ordinance.
All right, Mr. Baker, hold on.
No, I got a point of order.
You can't call a point of order to stop someone from speaking. It actually has to be dealt with and addressed. And as far as I'm concerned, you're a point of order right now because you didn't let her finish her thoughts. So we can continue with this point of order, or we can drop it and let Ms. Natar finish speaking, and then you will be next. And
But he can make his comments in his opportunity to speak.
Yes.
But I guess my point is that things have changed in the last, just this year. Everyone got these notifications saying that our buoy systems were not in compliance. So I think it would help if we were to get together as all the beach communities to discuss what we want to do, maybe, like the strength in numbers thing, that we can all work together and see what we can do to improve the situation / correct it, whatever you want to call it. So that's my comments, my council comments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Baker, you're up.
Okay, I'll get back to that later, but I'm going to talk about the comments that were made about the 13th and 12th Street project. So if you don't live on 12th and 13th Street, we have flooding problems, you may want to listen to this. I don't mean to waste your time. But last month, a few council members commented on why they felt the 12th and 13th Street project should have not been voted to proceed. I was one that did vote for the project and would like to express the reasons why. At the work session in May 16th, in discussing moving forward with the project, the engineer stated that the pipes were 73 years old and at least one failure. He further noted previous repairs and a couple depressions in the street. He further stated repeatedly, it was time to replace these pipes and project should move forward. The former city manager stated that during videoing of the pipes, a couple of joints had failures. The engineer further stated that the condition of asphalt now can be reworked, but 5 years from now could be questionable. The mayor asked about joints that are broken and how to repair, and the engineer said that wrapping the system to the joints could be a temporary solution, but noted not a fix, hence most probably less than a 3 to 5 year fix. The city manager was also asked about exploring and going into repair mode. The city manager at the time was clear that we would be gambling by doing this, but we should at least replace all the inlets, and there's 6 of them. One council person, when asked about going forward with this project, said she was against putting a Band-Aid on this and it should be moved forward. Last month during council comments, a council member said he called the engineer and was told that this project would not cure the problem. Although citizens and the city manager stated that since the check valves were installed on 12th and 13th Street, it has made a real difference. Let's be clear, replacing the pipes was never ever mentioned or presumed that this would cure flooding, as has been the case on previous stormwater repairs in the city. The question before council is, should we move forward in replacing the current pipes, which we knew had coupling failures and collapsed pipes, simply to restore to the norm? Furthermore, I went out and looked at the drains and inlets. There are 6 on this project, and some were so poorly deteriorated that the grading and concrete had collapsed into the drain. There are further a total of 6 coupons or previous digs on this project between the 2 streets and at least 40 feet of patchwork near the Miami drainage curve. We further have a high water table when these pipes fail. Generally, when pipes fail, underneath it washes away the bedding and causes stress on each connecting pipe. Simply, who knows what desiccation compaction of the pipes east and west of each coupling failure is until they start excavation. It should be further noted that concrete pipes have steel rebar in them for strength. Concrete contains an alkaline environment that provides some protection against corrosion when the pipes are poured and manufactured. The steel inside the concrete that is used for reinforcement will react with a factor which these pipes will experience for probably about 70 years plus. The problem is these pipes are in salt water every day. Just a hairline crack can get into the rebar and deteriorate it. Every day these pipes have seawater coming in to some degree. When I noted it to the engineer in May's work session that my belief is the only way to cure flooding problems is by inserting pumps and possibly one catch basin for every 2 streets, that suggestion was returned with pumps are costly and no place to place a catch basin. No, a catch basin could be placed underground at one end of any street and use 2 streets to do the basin. The bottom line, should we allow 70-plus-year-old pipes, which have separations, compression failures, along with drain inlets deteriorations, to be one council person's note to have a Band-Aid put on it and not go forward with proceeding with this project? Coming from the construction field, Band-Aiding a problem has truly never worked in my 30-plus years experience, especially with piping that is 70-plus years old, with numerous problems. Again, I've seen a huge difference in life expectancy of pipes from fresh water and salt water. So the question, again, before council, could some of these pipes last another 20 to 30 years? I don't believe the council members, we should be gambling with the city taxpayers' money. We must know that 8% of the bid on that 12th and 13th Street, like any bid, is portability of moving equipment in and out. If that job got done and another failure happened, another 8 to 10% of cost would be occurred to this council by just moving an equipment to do another repair. I, for one, think that was a good move to pass and move forward with this project.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Gunn.
In light of, I've got a couple points I'd like to make. Best practices is one of them. This agenda, it seems to me we backslid a little bit on this. We made some improvements in the readability of this thing by giving little snippets of what was entailed in that line item. In other words, we used to say who submitted this agenda item, and then there would be a sentence or two saying what the gist of this agenda item was. I mean, if we talk about approving the sheriff's contract, why couldn't we just throw out there, hey, it's a $549,000 total, it's gone up 5.18%, and it includes a credit from Baylor Shores. I mean, little snippets like that. The playground equipment, $14,204. We're piggybacking onto a Manatee County contract, and the existing equipment has passed its useful, serviceable life. I think we need to get back in that habit, and why I say that is because it would be nice if this agenda would be a little bit more self-sufficient in a standing document, instead of saying, okay, there's a budget, now I need to go dig in the back of this Tokyo phone book and try to figure out what those numbers are, when we've got a lot of busy people up here, and it would be the readability, and it would be a time savings for everybody. In other words, when you write this agenda, think of it in terms of the way we're going to look at it, where we're going to read it. You guys you deal with those issues all day long. But, if it just took an extra couple minutes to add another line or two, it would immensely improve the quality of life of the people sitting up here. So that's one issue. I saw the fire department stand there and show us a 5-year projection, looking down the road of revenues, expenses, and the burn rate of their reserve funds. We have yet to do that. And I think it's finally about time, again, and I want to harp one more time on, there's a protocol to all of this stuff, and there's a logical sequence to doing this stuff. I think we will probably get to the same point. And hey, I had a huge input to that strategic plan. You've got several council members sitting up here who wrote that thing and put it in service. So we know that thing inside and out. So, I mean, again, there's a logical sequence, and this is a family of plans. The strategic plan is tied to the budget process. It's tied to a lot of different things, and we need to make sure that everybody is baseline on everything. So we're making decisions based on common perceptions of what's going on around all this stuff. Code enforcement stats. There's about 45 line items in the existing code report. 12 of those line items are reported as complaints from the residents. Now, what's significant about that? The significance of that is that all of those other line items were caught by our code enforcement person driving around, making objective decisions about what he should do and what's important at that time. The importance of a complaint from a resident is it's analogous to a direct feedback from our residents about what they consider to be the code enforcement issues of the day. What are their priorities in their book? Is it landscaping? Is it trash? Is it people parking on the street? I don't know. The issue I'm trying to raise here is if you look under those complaints, there's 12 of them, and just about half of them don't give any explanation of what the complaint was. There's such things as a possible ordinance violation, no violation noted, no violation noted, and there was one other one, neighbor complaint. It's not giving us the information we need to say what's important to the residents and what should we be focusing on in the code enforcement process. That's one thing. Item last, coming from a background where awards, citations, and presentations happen all the time, I would volunteer that perhaps it's benefiting when the mayor, as the head of the city, makes the presentation stuff, but perhaps leave behind the citation or the letter you would like to read, and I'd be happy to, or any other council member can read it so everybody can hear what's going on, and then you're down there for the full opportunity. That's just a suggestion coming from my background. Thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you for the constructive criticism. I will accept it gracefully. Thank you very much. All right, so I just like to, I want everyone to know that we appreciate the phone calls and emails. I hate that most of the condo owners that were here to speak didn't hang around. But that, I guess that's because we did our job. And it also means that they did their job. Just so you know, buoys may be important to someone in our city. I'm not sure who those people are, because I never received one email, not one phone call, not a single "yay, I want buoys" message or contact whatsoever. So the citizens did exactly what they're supposed to do, is reach out, read the agenda, see what's coming up, and contact us if you feel strongly about something. I just mainly want you to know that, yes, the system does work, but you have to be engaged. You have to reach out to us. Otherwise, just like code enforcement, the Vice Mayor just brought up, we don't really know what's on your mind unless you're willing to actually do something about it. And unfortunately, with the way that the code laws read now, if you're going to file a complaint, it goes on the record. But if you feel strong enough about something, we do it all the time. We vote on things, and sometimes it goes a way that you'll like, and other times it'll go a way that you don't like. But it's part of our beautiful city, and it's a responsibility that we should not take lightly. Also, issues that are being brought up, they may not be addressed super fast. Right now, we have a lot on our plate. We're trying to hire a city manager. We're trying to balance the budget. We're going to be looking at the strategic plan, and I can count right now at least 5 various important complaints that are coming from around the city that we're going to have to address, and a lot of it will be challenging our existing code, or at least making sure that what we have is legal and we can enforce it. All these things take time, and all I ask is everyone please be patient with us while we get through this trying time, and then it'll be a little quieter next year. Other than that, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight. And also, did we ever have anyone that zoomed in this time? We have somebody online right now? No? Okay. Well, five people are watching this meeting. Well, that is great. And again, I would like to congratulate Mr. Riefler. Great job. And this is awesome, because that's 5 more people that wouldn't be at this meeting. So that's great. All right, other than that, I would like a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Frank Baker, do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Floyd Roberts, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Good night, everyone.
Nobody opposes the motion.